experience of the Office of the Comptroller General of the Republic of Paraguay with regard to training, generally speaking, as a whole. These are the programs we're providing internally, as well as we are creating a committee that I will explain how it works, this committee. And so it's a pleasure for me to share with you all these our experiences. Next slide, please. Firstly, I want to mention that the Office of Information is a new office that's been created under the Office of the Comptroller General of Paraguay. It's divided up into two sections. One is the Office of Academic Development. The other one is the Investigation and Development, Research and Development. So through these two areas, we're developing training programs, both internally as well as managing all other activities for training and education and information for other public servants of the state. In 2022, our training plan, it's annual, and we do this on an annual basis because there's huge changes and innovations that come into being in with the area of training, So we do this on an annual basis, we reassess. Now, with regard to internal training, we emphasize public ethics workshops quite a bit to reflect on practices and pre-modern thought in the way of administrating the state and performing public service, to incorporate and consolidate new practices and attitudes for public services. We have at the Office of the Comptroller General, anyone who comes in receives this training. We coordinate this public ethics training through these workshops. Also, good governance workshops are also given. This is voluntary for anyone who is involved in this. So it becomes an ethical commitment. And there is a transparency in public administration to incorporate and consolidate new practice and attitudes of public officials. Next slide, please. I want to speak a bit about this committee for capacity building of the Latin American Organization and of the Caribbean of oversight bodies, the OLACEFs. This was created by different Comptroller's Office of Latin America and the Caribbean. Different offices. It assesses the needs for training in the region to put together proper training. They've put together a training plan covers 2022 to 2023. And so we have conducted different training activities. These are all virtual and they are asynchronous. So the different comptrollers' office are able to take these courses at any time, 24/7, that they're able to. And they're granted a certificate of participation, which allows them to include it in their CVs. Among the training that we have conducted is the following: Introduction to Gender Equality and Non-Discrimination, the first and second editions; Best Practices in Control of Public Procurement Management; Emotional Intelligence and Oversight; Strategic Management of Human Talent; also Ethics and Honesty. First, second, and third editions have been completed. 3 different courses for Ethics and Honesty. Specialized Procedures in Auditing, particularly with applying the principle of environmental cost assessment. Also, planning, execution, and reporting, and introduction to root causes of findings. This is important because and then also the general outlook for overseeing the 2030 agenda and auditing, risk-based auditing. So there were, as of 2021, more than 6,000 agents have been trained, and we have strengthened our auditors' ability, who are actually going to be overseeing and inspecting public management activities. Next slide, please. With this committee, the next training round over the course of 2022, the other ones were from 2021. This will be about assurance, quality assurance, risk-based auditing, another edition of the ethics and honesty course, particularly international standards of oversight entities, delegation of authority, best practices and consolidation of fiscal findings, and human talent management auditing, methodologies for integrity, risk evaluation, leadership, and development of oversight skills or supervisory skills. With regard to innovations, the Office of the Comptroller General of Paraguay has systems and tools that are innovative and serve the citizens and employees to achieve transparency and counter corruption. Thus, we can cite on the next slide, on this note, the platform of open data which enables citizens to gain access to information about accountability of the National Public Investment and Development Fund, FONACIDE, as well as royalties, transparency, per diem, etc. We also have the system of sworn statement on income and property of all state officials must make this statement, and the system of evaluation of the effectiveness of internal control, which is the minimal norms to improve government control performance in Paraguay. We train all public servants of the Republic of Paraguay at institutions on how to improve control systems so that the institution of the state itself can be on top of this. And we're going to assess the satisfaction level of these programs. So next. I just want to mention that this information is presented in an open data format, facilitating governance and access to data for analysis, and enables improvement of government services, innovation, and citizen auditing especially. Next slide, please. With regard to training programs for public servants, the CGR provides training courses to the different entities of the state. I would refer to the minimum standard for internal control and accountability of per diem. We also have programs for training of citizenry, and in this we are holding basic workshops of citizen oversight, both in person and virtual, to be able to train them about how they can actually oversee government activities as citizens. So thank you very much. That's all we can provide at the Office of the Comptroller General of the Republic of Paraguay. We're aware of the importance that training and information is for public servants, and about public servants. It's important to provide efficient oversight and protect public assets in benefit of citizens. This is helpful in improving the quality of life of all citizens. Thank you. We thank Dr. Adriana Hondo for sharing her experience at the Office of the Comptroller General. It seems it's very active. Now we give the floor at this time to experts from the Dominican Republic to share their experience.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to greet the other experts from our sister countries and the experts, the MESISIC and the Technical Secretariat, and say thank you for the invitation. Well, the Dominican Republic is happy to share information about its training programs on anti-corruption. This afternoon, since it is past noon, we'd like to focus on just one example of a program that we have. So at the National Ethics Government Ethics and Integrity Commission have as a mandate to prevent acts of corruption and conflicts of interests in public administration, to ensure the principles of good governance, good administration, and access to public information. So at this point in time, I'd like to focus, as I said, on one program. The Dominican Republic has a list or various programs that it imparts for government employees and for citizens at large. But there's one that's specifically aimed at corruption, and we began this last year with the creation of integrity and ethics and best practices to address these aspects. During the our Commission on Ethics and Integrity has created a program to be able to teach and prevent administrative corruption. And this is done from a focus on prevention, minimize risk, and be able to teach government employees to correct, report, and ultimately eradicate administrative corruption, so that the government can conduct their work transparently, in an open fashion, and in a continuous fashion. So basically, the program is aimed at preventing bribery, conflicts of interest, corruption, and all illicit actions that are unlawful and that ultimately are tied to administrative or become offenses of government corruption. And at the Ethics Commission and Ethics and Government Integrity Commission, we organized or established a program for this. And the objective is that through this program, the government could shed light on ISO standards and ultimately obtain its objectives and become a government where which endeavors to correct or work to correct corruption. So the Ethics and Integrity Commission works in an interinstitutional manner. So together with 3 government agencies, it has established this training program. And through this partnership, we have established strong programs, robust programs that are aimed at integrity and can therefore train government public employees to do their job correctly in and join the fight against corruption. So the first program, training program, is one that we organized with Indocal, which is the Dominican Quality Institute, and then the technical professional program. So Indocal, next slide, please. So through Indocal, we have a diploma program that is aimed at complying with ISO 37001 with that standard in which has to do with anti-bribery in governance. So this is an online course to provide a broader scope to the program and have many more individuals be able to take the course. And it's also a course, an onboarding course for individuals that are recent hires in the public sector. And the basic ethics course for public servants is another course that we use as an onboarding course. Now, together with the InfoTep, which is the Technical Professional National Training Institute. And there is a course that we organized that focuses on ISO standards 31000, 37001, and 37301 that have to do with risk and anti-bribery management and compliance, or establishing a compliance system. And we've focused on this as an essential part of the individual's training session. And it's important for all government employees to take this course. And that way, using a risk-based focus, they can learn to detect and intervene and enforce standardized procedures. It's important to mention as a caveat that all of these programs are ISO standard programs, since we consider that to be the international standard. And the idea is that through this systematized process, we can prevent and detect administrative corruption through by mapping risks and identifying those risks and providing greater oversight for that purpose. So this is, as I said, a course that is imparted or offered to all ministries and government agencies. There are 106 commissions on integrity as a result of this course. So this means that since each integrity commission has 9 members throughout the government agencies, we had 954 government employees that now are or have received this course and have successfully passed it. So the reason for this is that we decided, or we analyzed that there was an entity similar to the Integrity Commission, but it did not have this, we can say, foresight that the current government agency has. The past government agency, the Ethics Committee of the past in our government, operated, well, was in existence since 1997. And corruption continued to ensue. And unfortunately, it was deemed that the commission was not robust enough. So through Decree 721, the Ethics Commission, the former Ethics Commission was revamped and was revamped to be able to meet international standards. And the fact that these commissions existed is that there was a case of corruption. And as a result, this was the origin of the new revamped program on ethics in the government. So the resources were now assigned or allocated to this new commission that is ISO based. So the objective is for government employees to acquire the right skills and know-how and be able to adhere to public policy and understand public policy and within the work that they do for the government. Next slide, please. And with this, I would just like to say thank you. This is the social or my social network information that you can use to reach me. Please let me know if you would like to learn any more about this commission, which will be in existence for the rest of this year and part of the next. Thank you so much, Berenice, for sharing the experience in the Dominican Republic on anti-corruption training programs. Now we're going to give the floor to Suriname.
So, thank you, Chair. A very good afternoon to all of you. As announced, I'm Takudin Rada and from Suriname, and I'm here to share some information on behalf of the Ministry of Home Affairs about how we try or make efforts in the past to promote or create awareness about integrity, transparency, and honestly among government officials, employees within the Surinamese government. Next slide, please. Next one. Yes. If we talk about the Surinamese government, then the Ministry of Home Affairs is known as the head ministry if it comes to personal matters, personal affairs. And if we speak about personal matters, personal affairs, then we think also about how government employees, government officials are doing their job, doing their work. Aspects like integrity, honesty, transparency, good governance also are the responsibility of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Next slide. Yes. And in this context, if we speak about the Ministry of Home Affairs, then it is also the responsibility of this ministry, together with the other ministries, to emphasize the integrity aspect within the government. Next slide. Yes, and in this context, in the past years, the Ministry of Home Affairs, especially the Civil Servant Training Department, introduced two models, good governance and the model accountability theory, to create awareness among government officials or to promote the integrity and good governance among the government officials, so that when they are doing their jobs, they think about it twice if they are doing something wrong. And in that context, the ministry tried the training department tried to make efforts to introduce these two models, a good governance and accountability theory, to create that awareness so that the government employees within the Surinamese government, among the 17 ministries, um, think about how they are doing their work according to the rules and regulations. Next slide. Policy measures to combat corruption in the period from 8 March 2021 to February 25, 2022. The following policy measures have been initiated by the Human Resource Management Directorate to combat corruption. The continuation of the good governance model in civil servant training, which provides government officials with insight into issues relating to good governance and integrity. And second one, the continuation of the model accountability theory in the civil servant training, whereby insight is provided into the procedures and rules of the financial management of the government, as well as the financial government departments and other institutes. Next slide, please. In accordance with Article 37 of our Personnel Act, the necessary preparations are once again being made to be able to start the oath-taking project. These are for new members, new persons. And the fourth one, a draft code of conduct document has been prepared, for which approval must still be obtained for implementation. And as part of the public sector management strengthening program, in which a more effective personnel policy is to be achieved, a code of conduct for the country servant has been drawn up. Next slide. Some updates based on a small case study that was conducted among various teachers and students associated with the courses that are provided under the supervision of the Education and Training Department. You can see it has been established as a result that the courses Good Governance and Compatibility Theory make a substantial contribution to the implementation of what is legally prescribed under the Anti-Corruption Act. Other slide. And the draft document entitled The Code of Conduct for the Surinamese Country Servant has already been submitted in draft to the Minister for further forwarding to the Council of Ministers. The revision of the Personnel Act is currently still in process, and the focus remains on revising articles that are no longer relevant today due to globalization, especially if the aim is to have honest national servants. It's important that the articles on, you can say, for example, defense, criminal prosecution, etc., should be tightened up. Other slide. The realization of the ideology behind the concept of IDEE official is central. The IDEE official, I stand for integrity, D for subservient, first E for efficient, and the last one for effective. However, with the entry of COVID-19 pandemic in Suriname in March 2020, the necessary consultations in this regard haven't been taken place with the relevant stakeholders, such as the trade union movement and other fellow departments. I think the last slide, please. It's important to point out or mention that the current Personnel Act provides the ministries with enough tools to act and combat corruption and fraud within the government. Last slide. I think is the last one. Thank you. I'm available if there are any questions. Yes.
Thank you so much, Rada, for your presentation. That was a presentation from Suriname. So I'm going to now give the floor to Trinidad and Tobago to make their presentation. So please take the floor, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Thank you for allowing me to join this meeting a little late today. It could not be avoided. I really appreciate it. Fellow experts, members of the Domestic Secretariat, on behalf of the Honorable Attorney General, I express sincere thanks for the opportunity to participate in this forum and have this brief presentation on anti-corruption training and education provided to public officers in Trinidad and Tobago. The government recognizes that it is the right of its citizens to live in a society free from corruption and also acknowledges its responsibility to ensure that corruption in the public sector is not only punished but prevented. As a part of the prevention strategies of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, several government ministries and agencies have implemented an anti-corruption training to educate public servants at various levels of service. The government, through these ministries, have signed several memoranda of understanding with foreign governments and agencies to facilitate training of officers in relation to the fight against corruption in specific areas. I will now highlight a few of these critical agencies and the related training programs. The Ministry of Public Administration's Public Service Academy is the main government agency responsible for the training of public officers and equipping them with the relevant tools to perform their jobs more efficiently and effectively. The Academy trains an average of 1,500 public officers annually via skills development workshops. While the Academy itself does not specifically offer anti-corruption training, it has factored in several issues surrounding overall prevention of corruption into the courses it provides. For instance, in relation to integrity and corruption, the Academy offers workshops with modules addressing issues of ethics, procurement, accounting, procedures in public service and internal auditing. The Academy, however, has several agreements with international donors to provide specific anti-corruption training with countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, India, Japan, and China. Annually, on average, there are 3 offers of public officers from Trinidad and Tobago to receive training, with the number of available spaces varying with each offer. Some specific topics covered by these international donors are better governance, managing corruption for heads of investigations, promoting integrity and combating corruption, fraud detection and prevention. Another critical agency in the fight against corruption is the Anti-Corruption Investigations Bureau, ACIB, within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, which plays a critical role in the investigation of reports of corruption. Part of the ACIB's mandate is to provide training to police officers relative to corruption and related offenses. Additionally, The Bureau is tasked with identifying and implementing training needs for staff development by obtaining the requisite courses. As such, officers attached to the Bureau attend seminars and conferences, both locally and abroad, where they have received specialist training in areas relating to counter-terrorist financing, recognition of fraudulent documents, forensic accounting, and forensic accounting. The third agency which I would like to highlight is the Office of the Procurement Regulator, OPR. Under Section 13(1) of the Procurement Act, the OPR is mandated to set training standards, competence levels, and certification requirements to promote best practices in procurement. As such, the office has conducted training for both public officers external to the OPR and internal to the agency. These programs were aimed at enhancing the quality of procurement practice and practitioners in Trinidad and Tobago. In November 2020, the OPR developed and published training and certification standards. The implementation of these standards is aimed at enhancing the quality of procurement practitioners, which will in turn lead to more efficient public bodies that implement high quality and effective procurement procedures and practices, thus contributing to accountability, transparency, and good governance. Also, in accordance with the Procurement Act, the OPR published an ethical code of conduct for public bodies and public officers, and an ethical code of conduct for suppliers and contractors. In July 2020, the office hosted online webinars for both public officers, suppliers and contractors to familiarize them with their obligations under the respective codes of conduct. In order to prepare its staff for the fulfillment of its quasi-judicial functions in facilitating challenge proceedings under the Procurement Act, the OPR has provided several internal training sessions for its officers in conjunction with several judicial stakeholders, such as the Global Judicial Integrity Network, the Caribbean Court of Justice, and the Judicial Education and Institute of Trinidad and Tobago. The lessons learned from these training sessions will significantly assist the country's anti-corruption efforts in the area of procurement. In conclusion, the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago will continue to place emphasis on providing training for its public officers to ensure that they are adequately equipped not only to identify corruption in their various fields and report same, but also to prevent it. Madam Chair, I thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Suriname, for the presentation.
It was Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, sorry about that. That was Trinidad and Tobago. Sorry about that.
No problem.
My bad. The interpreter apologizes. So we would now ensue with questions or comments on the presentations that have been made by the 12 member states that are participating here at the MESI-SEEK. If there are no questions or requests for the floor, I would just like to thank the 12 member states for their invaluable presentations, which are of extreme value to all of us. So we hereby end the morning session. We're going to break now until 3 p.m. Washington, D.C. time, and then we will continue with item 4 on the agenda. And we will we will then continue with the voluntary best practices presentations. So let's stay online. Just turn off your videos and your video, your audio, and we will then start promptly at 3 p.m. EST time or Washington time. Thank you so much for your participation, and we will see each other very soon.